Hey, hello everyone. My name is Chris Lennon. I'm one of my staff solution engineer for VMware Cloud on AWS. Today we're going to quickly talk about leveraging bots to automate SDDC deployments in the cloud. I apologize. I got to get out here as soon as possible to catch a flight. I didn't realize we're going to be behind. So, just a quick disclaimer: the code that you're going to see here, it's a little bit of a mess, but it does work. And the reason is because I don't claim to be a professional developer. And Bender, the bot that you're about to meet, he's not a Russian, so don't worry, he's not going to troll you or anything like that. So, overview, or excuse me, the agenda is we're going to just go over a quick overview of why we're using a Slack bot to automate a lot of our processes within our team. We'll do a quick demonstration of that. We'll also, I'll just show you what it takes to actually get started with a Slack bot and integrate this with VMware Cloud on AWS. And then I'll provide some code samples. And then if there's any time, we can do some follow-up questions. So here at VMworld, I'm not sure if any of you guys have been able to attend the expert-led workshops for VMware Cloud on AWS. Anyone? Anyone? Paul? John? Perfect. OK. So basically, what we're doing is we're deploying 50 single node SDDCs across 50 different organizations. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how you do that in the UI. And you're going to realize, wow, we need to do some automation around this because it's a very tedious task. And the amount of clicking you have to do, you're most likely going to run into a configuration problem. And I can guarantee Paul, my coworker over here, we had to do it manually once. He did the first 25, I did the last 50. We screwed it up pretty well. So, but some of the other automations that we're doing within these within the workshops is also adding all the students. So there's 50 accounts that we have to add to each of those organizations. So again, very tedious. And once the workshop's complete, we do the same thing. We back everything out, remove the users from those organizations so they cannot have access to it, and then we destroy all the SDDCs. So we're not, we don't have this hardware out there consuming resources for no reason. It does, at the end of the day, cost money to run this hardware out there. Same thing, we do customer experience workshops around the country. We generally have 20 customers that are interested in the product. So same scenario, not as many SDDCs that we deploy, but same concept. We're also leveraging other Python scripts, Power CLI scripts to kind of help automate and reset those environments so we can get ready for the next workshop. Because in reality, if we didn't have this automation in place, we wouldn't be able to do these workshops on a daily basis. So let's do just a quick demo of Bender deploying SDDCs. Actually, I take that back. Let me just show you quickly, and I apologize, maybe some of you guys seen how to deploy an SDDC through the UI. I just want to show you what the steps are. I mean, it's a really easy process. You don't need much information to deploy an SDDC, but think about doing this 50 times. You probably would definitely want some automation in place. So first things first, you wanted to decide where you want to deploy your SDDC within VMware Cloud on AWS. And today we have quite a few regions available. As you may have heard, Sydney was just announced just a couple days ago. I'm going to go and stick with Oregon. The deployment type, again, you have options. Single host, single node. That's one of those 30-day type deals where you can deploy a one node into VMC, and after 30 days, it will expire unless you have that option. You can upgrade to a 4-node. And then the multi-host, again, the 4-node minimum, soon to be 3. Let's go ahead and stick with that. I'll just give it a name. Now, this cloud, not every customer sees this. They actually see AWS. We can use this. We can leverage this internally. It's just zero cloud. It's basically a fake cloud. a great way to test APIs, make sure they work without actually deploying hardware. So we're going to stick with that for now. And then being able to connect to an AWS account, I've already established that connection, so there's nothing really needed to do here. And then based on that account that I selected, I have the option to select which VPCs and subnets. As you can see, I have a lot of VPCs in here. So if I were doing this manually, I'd probably most likely select the wrong one. So, and then the subnet. And this is very key because we want to make sure we deploy that SDDC in the same availability zone as those services that you may be, be taking advantage of. Because we ultimately want to do is help reduce those egress charges. And I won't get too much details about this. No requirements to connect you to an on-prem data center. So I'm just going to leave that blank. So again, I'm deploying to Zero Cloud. And usually it takes a couple of minutes. Reality, if I was deploying this for real, it could take about 90 minutes to 2 hours to deploy a full stack SDDC. And that's all your ESX hosts, vCenter, NSX, and all the components that make up NSX. It's working on it. Okay, there, boom, got it created. So now let's say I'm done testing or we're doing a workshop. Next step would be to let's go ahead and delete this so we can get ready for the next workshop, right? So again, delete. All it is just clicking. Are you sure you really want to do this? Because it's all going bye-bye, right? All right. So that's basically it. So let's do that with a Slack bot. Our bot is named Bender. You might see some similarities from Futurama. He kind of looks like the character from Futurama, so that's why we called him Bender. But anyways, here you can see on the left side a lot of information going on. I just removed all the SDDCs from the last expert-led workshop. As I was walking over here, I literally had done it on my phone, told them to delete everything, and that was it. I didn't have to bust out my laptop and run scripts or anything or do any manual processes. So first things first, I always like to see if he's there. So I'm going to ask him if he's there to say hi. Yep, there he is. Oh, looks like he's Australian today. That's awesome. So let me go ahead and get a status on the workshop. So I'm just sending a command. Actually, let me take a step back here because we also provided a help command because Bender does a lot of other activity or tasks for us. So we're able as a team to track activities and everything. But we want to just focus this section down here. So here's some commands that I'll be showing you here. And I'm essentially direct messaging him, so I don't have to tag him, but I could in another channel if I wanted to. So let's get a workshop status. And basically what this is doing is it's querying VMC's API to see if there's any SDDCs out there that are currently running. Of course, it's running on my wireless, so VMworld. It's a little slow today. Come on. Oh, sorry. No, I'm good. Sorry. Mistake. It was me. Sorry. I should probably deploy something first. That's just basically telling me there's nothing deployed yet, so let's do this real quick. So on the right side, you can see that one that I deployed and deleted. Let's just tell Bender to do that right here real quick. So I'm going to tell him deploy on the workshop environment and then the org name. And I've instituted this just in case because we're deploying real environments, right? And I don't want to make any mistakes. So Bender's kind enough to make sure that you really want to do it. So of course, yes. And then, oh, are you really sure you want to do this? Well, yeah, okay. And then here we go. So as you can see, I just agreed to deploy it. It started, and you can see it deploying on the right side. So now I can actually get a status. And you can see that it's deploying there in the corner. So hopefully within a second here, I can do it again. Come on. There we go. So it's been deployed. I check status again. It should say ready. Yep, there we go. So next thing I could do is, that's just deploying one environment, right? Or one SDDC. Let's do this. Let's do a deploy workshop all. And what this is going to do, example is that like with the expert hands or the expert-led workshops, we're deploying 50 SDDCs. This will go out and just deploy all 50 SDDCs at the same time. So, oh yeah, of course we gotta make sure we really want to do this. So here you go, and it's actually deploying to all the 10 that we have in this particular workshop. So, and again, get status. So now that we have all the workshops deploying, they'll eventually be ready. Now what I can do next is start adding users to these organizations, and that's just as simple as add ELW01 VMware HOL.com to VMCWS1. So again, he's doing a REST API query and basically adding this user to have admin rights to this organization so they can log in and do the workshop. And then once everything's done, same command or similar command, I'm just going to go ahead and tell them to remove. And we'll see it go by. So, any questions so far? So the last part would actually to do the cleanup, and that would just be delete workshop all, and it will actually go down through each org and clear out all the SDDCs that exist in that environment. So. But he might not respond to me. So let's jump back to the decks. So let's talk about how I did this. So it's really simple to get your own bot started, especially if you're using Slack. What I did is I use this, I think it's called Howdia bot kit. It's basically a really simple SDK that you can consume, and it works with a lot of other messaging systems. Obviously, for VMware, we use Slack as our primary way of communicating with each other. You can use Microsoft Teams or Facebook if you want to do that too. So, and then again, in our case, we're using the AWS EC2 instance to host the bot. That's where he runs, and that's where all the code resides. You also have other options to leverage as Glitch and Heroku if you want to use those services to host your bot, or you can do it on-prem. Doesn't really matter. And of course, last thing, for our case is have a Slack bot, or excuse me, a Slack workspace that you can host your bot. So here's just a kind of a quick diagram of how our, oh sorry, let me just build that out. So what you're seeing here, so this is where Bender resides. He's in AWS as an EC2 instance. All the data, all the code resides on the EBS backend for storage. And what he can also do internally for our team is he communicates with a Redshift data warehouse. So he can query information. We can gather a lot of information about what SDDCs are running in any particular customer. So we can find out, how many VMs they have running, what version their SDDC is running at, and so on. But also, he can also communicate with another SQL server in the back end within our own SDDC And basically, that's what we're just using for auditing purposes. So anything that we're typing, interacting with vendor, all that information is being tracked in a log within a SQL Server database and within our SDDC. So then what we're doing is we're using a product called Mode Analytics, and it can basically interact with whatever vendor provides in this SQL. Let me see if I can do this here real quick. That right there. Oh, there we go. Look at that. So that is our SQL Server. So Mode can interact with that, or it can interact with the Redshift database over here. So let's take a look at some code examples. So I'm using a combination of JavaScript and Python. I originally started off with Python just because I was a little bit more comfortable with that. But as I was starting to integrate this with Slack and the bot SDK, JavaScript seemed to be the best way to go with this. And it has a lot of other features you can take advantage of so that you can leverage SDKs to send data into Redshift or vice versa. So on the left side is just a Python example of creating an SDDC and basically just passing parameters into it based on a JSON file that I'll show you here in a few seconds. So as you can see up here, wrong button. So up here, there's your create SD, but up the top, get token. So you need a refresh token to be able to authenticate. And we pass that through this REST API, which ultimately gives you an access token that you can use. And then we pass that to this create SDDC. So here's my payload of everything that we need to create that SDDC. And then over here is another function that vendor, my bot, leverages to essentially parse through that JSON file that I was talking about, and then go in and it gets SDDC information. So anytime I type that SDDC command, this is what it's executing to get properties of that SDDC. So here's another one. So with that BotKit API or SDK, you can leverage certain things. So for example, keep on using the wrong button. Up here, that this controller hears, this is the command or conversation it's looking for in order to execute a lot of that code. And you can use regex to capture keywords so that it knows exactly what to do. And another nice thing is this, you can basically, this is how vendors or the bot's going to respond, right? So it's going to be through a direct message, maybe a mention in a channel, or there's an option for ambient. So it could be anything, you could be typing anything, and he's going to respond based on a keyword that you may have mentioned. So. And then down here, this is where we just basically go through and start that conversation based on what he picked up here. And again, I'm creating actions, those yes or no buttons, to confirm that that's what you really want to do. All right, so here's the second part of that create SDDC process. So here I'm gathering those keywords that I need. Is it going to be the expert-led workshops, or is it going to be the customer experience workshops that we're going to have to deal with? Because I have two separate JSON files that has the configuration data that I need. And we just basically go through, parse it, and then we just loop through it, and then execute this function here to go and create those SDDCs. So it's pretty simple, actually. And then down here, I can respond to a specific channel so that it notifies my team that we're deploying all the workshops so that they're all aware, essentially. And then here's a sample of what a JSON would look like for the configuration parameters. So remember I went through and the UI and was selecting certain values. Those are basically all the values right here. So here's my org ID, Here's my refresh token, so I can authenticate. Here's the subnet ID on the AWS side. Provider, obviously AWS. Here's my management subnet if I need to do that. I can provide the number of hosts I can deploy. And of course the region, the location of where I want to deploy my SDDC. And then here's the users that we add to each individual of the orgs or SDDCs. So here's the resources that I put together. I actually have a lot of this code up on on GitHub. So this is public. Anybody can access it. I'll also put in the tutorial if you want to take advantage of that. How do you boot Bootkit SDK? And it tells you exactly what you need to do to deploy it. Very simple. I think it took me like 10 minutes to get it all set up. It's pretty simple. And also some VMC code samples. So if you want to take advantage of some of the SDKs that we provide from VMware, that's all there as well. And then lastly, if you guys are interested in taking advantage, do you need to take a screenshot of that? Okay. And then last, if you guys are interested in checking out VMware Cloud on AWS, we're actually doing some promos during VMworld, so you can deploy a single node. And here very shortly, you'll be able to do a 3-node for the price of 2. So, any questions? Great. Thanks, everyone.